Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Bottom of the Beaker with Quick Draw and JT Russell. Hey, Quick Draw.
Hey, what's up? How are you this week?
Doing great, and very excited for what we're going to talk about today. This has been a topic that's been on our list probably since we've had a list, and for about as long, I think we've had different opinions on the topic. So,
This is one that I was like so excited to just talk everyone's ear off about like how I'm right about this. And then when preparing for it this week and talking to a bunch of different people to kind of like gather some information, I I'm not going to say that like my opinions changed on it, but it's definitely not how I thought this was going to go, which is really exciting because I learned a lot this week. It was really cool to hear some other perspectives that we're going to share. So I'm pretty excited for this one too.
cool. And my prediction is that we're going to have I don't know, just a lot of consensus on some of the ideas, and maybe have some different results drawn from that. So yeah, should be a really good discussion. And we are talking about SAS Cap. SAS Cap. I don't know. I guess you say SAS, I say SAS. It's kind of the same thing. I don't know.
It's probably one of those things, like, I probably pronounce it differently half the time, and I don't even realize it. It's
Well,
like in Star Wars when they say Han or Han, and then they say Leia and Leah, they just don't even realize it, and they just roll with it.
the ambiguity is part of the canon, you know.
Exactly.
I like it. Well, we'll keep going. And you should call me ST Russell every once in a while just to keep people guessing.
Oh man, that's gonna confuse a lot of people. Probably me first.
Cool. So, looking at right here, we've got a tournament, and one of the questions that we had initially when we started kind of looking into this topic was where SAS Cap originated. And you dug this one up. Do you want to kind of tee it up at
Yeah,
all, or?
so I could try that, and I think we can say this with a high amount of certainty, but not 100%. And I think that's kind of the theme is that like this was something that this kind of format was pretty organic for a lot of people, but we're going to give credit to Fighting Walloon for the first documented case that we could find of a SAS Cap tournament. And one of the coolest things that I saw in this tournament, this is the Average Joe's KeyForge tournament. This is almost 3 years old at this point. 42 players in this, and you read the description there, and it says bring a deck with a SAS below 67. So the funniest part to me when I saw this was that it doesn't even say SAS Cap. This was before the term SAS Cap was invented. So Fighting Walloon, who is an excellent organizer of events, he did the Average Joe's originally, and he also did Kagi and Sanctimonious, which we have some news about as well.
Absolutely. And I think we should probably pause there for a moment and just say a
I just
quick,
remembered we were supposed to talk about Kagi.
quick congrats to Not Tonight, our teammate, for taking down Kagi 5, who was also featured in this throwback event. Not Tonight in the very first Average Joe's. It all ties together.
Yeah, there you go. And you got to stream that finals match with Zoc on his channel.
I did. That was a lot of fun. Big thanks to Zoc for letting me sit in, gush about a teammate, and admire all her big brain plays.
Yeah, it was. I got to rewatch it after the fact, so I was very thankful that it was recorded. But um, great match. It's nice to see Sloppy Lab work back on top in Kagi.
That was a huge win for us too. I think it vaulted us back to the number one slot in the core rankings, KeyForge Online
Did
rankings.
did we should have that up actually too, but we don't. We've had a nice friendly rivalry with the French team for much of this, like the entirety of the KeyForge Online rank. We've gone back and forth with them. We've played them a lot, like not just in specific matches, but played against them in the final of the Swindle team event in a close one. And they've been doing like they're just killing it this year, really. Like that team is super strong players.
Absolutely, and I
So
think there's only three of them as well. So extra props in that
yeah,
front. Yeah.
yeah.
And see Murph in the chat. Hey Murph, how's it going? Welcome.
So
Cool.
yeah, let's. You want to get back to Average Joe's?
Bring it back, indeed.
All right. So I spoke to Fighting Walloon this week. I spoke to Corey Than, who created Decks of Keyforge, and I spoke to Mark H., who's one of the leaders of ABR, which is a hugely popular league we'll talk about in a bit too. Um, and I was trying to just get some more details, like what do you guys think about SAS Cap? What are your thoughts on it? Do you know where it came from? And I eventually got pointed to fighting Walloon in the Average Joe's tournament. And so this is what we saw as like probably the first one. And one of the questions that we had for each other is like, what is like, why do we have this? And what do people want out of it? What do they get out of it? And there was a pretty common thread with everyone that I spoke to, and it was really about like a casual format and about playing your own decks was what Mark said, um, and playing stuff you don't normally play in tournaments that Corey then said. So it's definitely about like, okay, everyone kind of wants to avoid like the highly competitive, you know, high 70s, 80s SAS decks and just play something that you find fun and entertaining and not just get trounced in a tournament. Because I think the official formats, you know, adaptive can do that, but not everybody wants to commit to like a 3 game tournament. Reversal is like the other end of the spectrum, and then the Archon, you just kind of like get stressed out from playing a lot of high power decks. So the point of this was to let people play decks that they couldn't normally play otherwise. And they have different caps. Obviously, you could play like a 60 cap, so you have a set of decks that would be good for that, 65, 70, and so we could talk a bit about like the differences in those in a bit, maybe if we get to it. Um, so it was interesting to hear that everyone kind of had that similar take on it, and they also all three of them kind of unprompted all said the same thing about the ability to like game the system or kind of like get around the intent of it, and it was not really considered a feature. I would guess I would say like more like they're all aware of it, and they each maybe have different ways of tackling that problem or that question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on. I would definitely be in the camp of folks who see it more as a feature. I love the like,
That's interesting.
yeah, I love the idea of like, okay, here's a set of parameters. Let me see if I can puzzle out a way to like eke out an advantage. Um, and I don't know, SAS Cap is one of the events types that's inspired me most to pour through my collection and really look at like really critically look at more decks. And I mean, I have a lot of decks. I'll like I'll admit to it, but SAS Cap has like given me a reason to really like dig into those decks that might not otherwise see much play or even get a second glance from somebody who's kind of got more of a competitive lean, more of like a try hard lean. I mean, yeah, I will play a casual game for sure, but uh, yeah, as maybe more of a try hard competitive type of player, um, I love that element of like, yeah, what's is there anything in this deck that's undervalued? Can I bring it even to the competitive queue and get somebody to flip the table when they lose to the 60 something, right? Yeah,
I've done that with a 40 something. I got a table flip with a 40 something before. I'm just
I
waiting for the
witnessed that
50
game.
SAS cap. You did actually? I think yeah. I'm waiting for the 50 SAS cap, but I think that's a little bit too low for most people's taste.
Well, you might be surprised. We'll have to drop some links in the show notes, but it might be as good time as any to talk to about, you know, where we're playing. But first, I want to just mention, you know, I really first came to SAS Cap from some of the early Time Shapers events. This might have been kind of summer of 2020. They were already in full swing, but Aurora was running a weekly SAS Cap event, and I have a lot of appreciation and respect for both Aurora and Karen for the R&D work that they've done and kind of coming up with different formats and really promoting the game, keeping things interesting. And a big feature or a big thing that Aurora is focused on, at least at the time, big emphasis on the R&D in the Time Shapers world was trying to find formats that really make a wider range of your collection kind of competitive and viable. And we experimented with a lot of things. There are a lot of great successes that came out of that too. And I think SAS Cap got played for a while as sort of the best worst option, if you will. It's like, well, we're experimenting with some things, but like this kind of works. And I don't think it was ever meant as like this is a perfect fit. Like it's going to even the playing field. Like, no, it's really just like we're gonna set some baselines so that the competitive crowd has as a guardrail to lean on, and then you can really kind of dig into your collection and find some gems. Um, so yeah, wanted to
It's
give a shout
interesting.
there.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of shouts we can give here, and you know, we talk about how like all of these different people have ran these events, and this is kind of what everyone gravitates towards is the SAS Cap. And sometimes I feel like we sort of take for granted decks of KeyForge. I mean, we don't. I don't think. It's like the homepage of KeyForge, really. I think for almost everybody. And you think like the impact that it had on this, and that like the form, like the design that she made with like the scores and everything like that. Everyone loves it so much that every time they think like, how can I make this game more fun for me? And like, what do I look for? They go straight to that number, and they try to use that number as a benchmark or a gauge. So like, it's really insane the impact that decks of KeyForge had or and still has on like the online community and just like KeyForge in general. It's obviously like the decks collection aspect, the selling aspect, but like just the number itself and how that number itself inspires people to hold events like this, to me, is really crazy.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I would not be surprised if if I've spent more time on decks of Keyforge than in the Crucible at this point.
I probably have, yeah.
I would not be surprised. Would not be surprised. I don't know. Love looking at the charts. Love seeing the numbers. It just kind of like tickles the data analytics side of my brain. Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always interesting stuff to look into. I want to go back to what you said about how you look at it as like a way to dig into your collection more. Like that's really interesting to me. And like I like digging into my collection, but if I am looking at like a high 50s deck, I want to be able to see like can this win in the competitive queue? Like that's what I look at. And I don't normally play in the casual queue, so like for me, I'm not looking for like a SAS Cap deck per se. I am really looking for like something that looks fun to me, something that looks like I could maybe learn to play it a little bit better and it could punch above its score, something like that. But and I will just say, if it's not already clear, I have never been a fan of SAS Cap in general, and that is probably the understatement so far in 2 episodes of this show. Um, I just don't like it. I really do appreciate how you say it makes you look more critically at some of your other decks you wouldn't normally play. I think that's an awesome aspect of it. But to me, and I'm even kind of a try hard player as well. Like I like to always play in competitive. I take it very seriously. I get mad at myself if I lose, things like that. Um, I don't like SAS Cap because it is like a way to sort of game the system. I like a more straightforward match, and that's not always going to be Archon. Actually, I'm not a major fan of Archon either. But I don't like that we have a format that can be gamed that is created around one person's subjective opinion of card values and scores and things like that. I think there is, even Corey then admitted to this too. She said like, I don't like to play it because it's really about like people finding like way to exploit, you know, maybe mistakes or underrated things, and it's just I don't because it's a subjective score, that's what I don't like about it as much. And like trying to manipulate that and get around it. And I think what it usually results in is players with larger collections have more access um, to like decks that are better at getting around that. You know, like you might see certain cards like Heart of the Forest that are often like just totally broken in a deck that's under 60 SAS, and they can't keep up with like a super speedy like great control deck that's 85. But when you're playing against other decks less than 60, the card value is not there, and you generally have a harder time dealing with it unless you have a very specific counter to it. So I don't really like the format for that reason because it's like trying to find something that's broken, you know? And Keyforge to me is inherently not broken. And I feel like this creates a way to break it. And I just don't like that part about it. So I will still play like in the ABR week. I don't boycott the SAS Cap week in ABR. I still play it. It's fine. It's good for a casual format for me. I just find that a lot of events and even sometimes in the ABR, it's taken more seriously than I think it was ever intended to be.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said, except that then I would say, but I like it.
Yeah, so, well, that's great.
Yeah,
That's another thing that I think it was Corey then, and maybe everyone even said this. Like, people should play KeyForge the way they want to play KeyForge, and that really made me kind of like rethink my strong disdain of the format because
Hmm.
she's right. Like people should play whatever they think is fun, and I'm just happy that people are playing more KeyForge because of it. So I shouldn't complain as much as I do.
And we should say too that that Corthan has maybe a unique position in being uncomfortable with the format. May want to avoid awkwardness if she were to win an event with an underrated deck. I mean, I have absolutely
She
no like.
specifically mentioned it felt like a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I,
So
I can see how she would feel that way. I don't know that anyone would hold that opinion. I'm sure folks would, because I mean, it's the internet. You can find people with any opinion you want to find, right? But I honestly think she has better things to do with her time than game the system to win events.
right.
Um, uh, but yeah, I don't know. I get it. I see everything. I see everything you're saying. And I think this gets back to really what folks are looking to get out of SAS Cap. I mean, are folks looking for a mechanism to create an even playing field, or are folks looking for a nudge to play decks different, to play different decks than they would usually play? And I see I see the flaws of the first point, but I really embrace kind of the benefits of the second. And I don't know, I get kind of all arguments, and just kind of come out on balance. Really enjoying the like, okay, but I have to play something different. Let me find something that's going to be cool and thrive in this meta that has admittedly some arbitrary subjective constraints, but it's just kind of a different world for me to explore within.
Yeah, and I when I interviewed people this week, I really focused on like event organizers and content creators, and I think they are obviously they're like in a different position. And I should have probably also asked a lot of the casual players that still play in the average Joes, for example. It's I believe now run by St. Velton. They have their own Discord server. We could probably link that later if we can. But I think I should have talked to more of the casual players too and asked them like, why do you play it? Like not the people that are like always enjoying high level Archon, but people that just like to enjoy a casual Keyforge. Like, what brings you to SAS Cap? Why do you like SAS Cap more than other potential formats that could maybe also scratch the casual itch? And so what I'm going to say now is kind of just an assumption, and it's not really right. I should get like more concrete data on that, but I feel like people play SAS Cap because it makes them feel like they have a better chance. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like we talked about the collection size having a big impact. Like if you have 500 decks, you have a more likely chance to find something under 60 that's really good. So I just kind of, I have this assumption that people are playing it for the wrong reasons, but I shouldn't necessarily make that assumption. We should maybe talk to those kind of people. And if anyone's watching in the chat, let us know like if you play SAS Cap, like why do you enjoy it? Like what's your favorite part about it? Like what do you look for? Do you see it as like a balance thing? Is it fun for you? Is it, I don't know. It could be a lot of reasons, I think. But um, yeah, I'm curious what the casual players think about it as well.
Hmm. Yeah, there's really a great um, kind of conversation to be had there too. And is the kind of perception that you have a better chance almost just as good as actually having a better chance? I mean, if it gets folks to come out to play to try to win, I mean, there's an argument that a lot of the folks who are going to have that collection size advantage, that like I'm going to go out and hunt decks advantage, are going to have similar advantages to open Archon, unrestricted Archon. Um,
I think
uh,
the perception is pretty important though.
yeah.
Like I think in game design, you definitely want luck because you want people that are at a disadvantage to feel like they have a chance.
Hmm.
And I think there's a kind of a similar concept happening here where you want everyone to feel like they have a chance, even if maybe they're still disadvantaged more than they might think. That's okay. I think it's definitely important for like engagement in any game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a longtime Magic the Gathering player. I know you know this. I don't know if any of other folks know this, but followed the designer, lead designer there, Mark Rosewater's publications, writings, blog, podcast, what have you. And one of the things that Mark's very often quoted in saying is that the luck element in Magic, and KeyForge has a kind of a similar component, is just such an important element of its design. Where in a game like chess where you have perfect information, losing is just like it's on nothing but you. And whether or not a game of KeyForge was lost by your by your own mistakes or by a bad bump or a bad roll of the dice, being able to look at it especially as a brand new player and saying, I got unlucky, is huge and can do a lot for retention and for getting folks to come back and for kind of reducing some of the feel bads and feeling like you have, no matter what, maybe they'll get mana screwed, or maybe they'll just keep drawing 2/2/2s, and I'll manage to eke out a victory, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, that happens all the time. You like, well, I got kind of unlucky that game, but offer a rematch. See if they'll take you up in a rematch and see if you do better the next time, and use it as a learning experience. But it's a bit of a tangent, I guess. So we do have a one-star Peeps, five-star games. At this point, my second or third best deck is the 69 SAS. I play in SAS Cap to play that deck and demo the power of lower SAS. So that's kind of cool. That's something I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, very cool. I have, I don't know, I'm going to dig into some of the decks that I pulled up to showcase, but while we're kind of on the topic, here's one right around the same kind of level at 70. Plague Rat deck, very strong, preys heavily on Mass Mutation and Worlds Collide boards, and you kind of look at the arc attributed to Plague Rat as 0.7. Now maybe the first is fair to be a 0.7, but the seventh, you're probably getting more creature control than that. Especially when paired with some things like Archimedes or Ronnie's that are getting picked up by the rats and handed off to an owl for your archives, things can get out of hand very quickly.
It's a lot of rats right there.
A lot of rats. Love the rats.
So
Rats are undervalued.
Whenever there were more frequent, sorry to interrupt you. When there were more frequent decks of KeyForge updates, this is a 70, which is like right on the cusp of a very popular SAS Cap format. Like, how anxiously do you watch the updates to see if you're still allowed to play this in a 70 SAS Cap format?
So great question. And the Time Shapers events that I mentioned before often kind of landed right around when the SAS updates would roll out. I don't know. I would kind of have some decks in mind, maybe check a few before, but it's not something I would watch anxiously. Now, that having been said, I've absolutely purchased decks because I thought that they were undervalued and going to be decent options for SAS Cap events.
And then decks of KeyForge ruined you by properly rating the deck higher.
Well, for better or worse, most of those have come since the last DOK update. I would put this guy Garvey at 75, right on kind of one of those popular cusps.
I love Garvey. I actually was looking to buy Garvey before you did, and before we were really even communicating. That's a really cool deck. Do you see 75 SAS Cap a lot? That feels pretty high to me.
75, I want to say is kind of the default, like, hey, we're going to do unrestricted, but not really unrestricted. So for a while, a lot of the NKFL qualifiers or other kind of large events where they wanted sort of an unrestricted feel, but wanted to kind of weed out the 90 plus, 100 plus rated decks, would use 75. So I mean, Garvey absolutely is a really cool deck. It's got meme status with the the Rooftop Lab phase shift into punctuated equilibrium stuff going on with final analysis. But I mean, being right at 75 was absolutely a factor when I was looking at it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never considered SAS Cap for purchases. I think some people may have bought decks from me for SAS Cap purposes. I'm not sure. Sometimes they like ask for like a 62 deck, and I'm like, I don't know, cool. I'll take $5 for it. Sounds great to me. Hopefully they're happy with it too.
Yeah.
I do have like a tag in my DOK for SAS Cap, but only because of events like AVR where I have to like eventually be ready for a SAS Cap tournament. So I kind of every now and then, if I see a deck that's like lower rated and I'm thinking, oh, this might be kind of good for that, I'll put the tag on there so I can find it later. But other than that, I don't really spend a lot of time figuring out what might be a good deck for a SAS Cap format.
Yeah. You can see this
Let's
one
see
was
one of
in my
your.
minors.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's see some of your lower ones, because
Sh-
I feel like I usually see like 60 or maybe 65 SAS Cap.
Sure, and my collection is kind of funny in this way. I have some some non-English decks up at the higher SAS levels, and then some non-English decks at the very low ones, and it's kind of obvious where I've gone out of my way to pick things up. Um, here's one. Here's one that you may or may not that you're likely familiar with. I've maybe mentioned before, but the Quad Mother deck
I
that
have
sits at
played against this
58.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What you call it, Mamma Mia, right? Is that your name
Mamma
for it?
Mia, four Italian mothers. That's right. Yeah,
Because that's right, because it's an Italian deck. Yes.
it is.
Um,
It is.
I do
But
remember that one a bit. Yeah. I have one that you're going to show later. That's the only one that I was actually really going to share because, like I said, I don't have that many. But you'll share it, and we're going to play a match here in a bit, probably shortly. I think we should get to it soon. So you guys will see my choice for a SAS Cap deck. But like, is there anything you're looking at to like if you're choosing a SAS Cap deck? What do you look for to like? Is there a sign or something specific you look for like that makes it a better SAS Cap deck?
it's a good question. I mean, and certainly as you get lower and lower, I think people like to give SAS a hard time. I think it does a phenomenal job being directionally correct 90% of the time, and there are some outliers, sure, but I mean, any ranking system is going to have outliers. And at the end of the day, it's impossible to have one number that's going to give you an accurate prediction of any two decks from the pool, right? Because I mean, you could find three decks: A beats B, B beats C, C beats A. You could find those three decks, so there's just going to be impossible to have one number that kind of boils it down. But I think you kind of find a few camps, right? You find the folks who are looking for lower powered but still kind of well-rounded decks, and then you kind of also find folks who are looking for the glass cannons that spike really hard on kind of one axis, but maybe have more holes. So maybe I have an example of that. Super Mill, the Viking of the Rift, is kind of your quintessential one house deck. It starts with the Mars, and then you kind of try and avoid looking at the Brobnar and Sanctum. So you've got a 57 rated deck, Martian Generosity, Key Abduction, double Mars first, and Proliferator. So when that lines up, things are pretty good. When you have to
Yeah.
play the Sanctum and Brobnar, your life just not feeling so great. Um, and honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why SAS Cap gets maligned is that folks do tend to think that, okay, 57's a 57. Oh, cool, I've got this one that does this cool Martian Generosity Key Abduction thing. Must be great. And they're going to roll over some folks, and the folks they roll over are not going to have a great time. And then they're going to really stumble some rounds when they have to play the other 2/3 of their deck, and they're not going to have a great time. Uh, but
This kind of reminds me that we see a lot of SAS Cap events where they actually ban cards, and
mhm,
I think Martian Generosity is probably one of the most popular SAS Cap bans, just because of decks like this. I would think because you can have one or two houses that are just really abysmal. What did you like? These are like a 14 and 15 SAS and the Brobner and the Sanctum. I mean, like
mhm,
that's pretty bad. And what's the Mars then? Probably like 30, I would think.
yeah,
Um,
you're exactly balanced in rating between those two and the
yeah.
Mars.
Um, and then Heart of the Forest, I mentioned earlier, is another one that I often see banned.
Hmm.
Um, I do find it interesting as well that with all of these different SAS Cap organizers we've talked about, all these different events, there's always these different iterations and like variations on SAS Cap. They're all kind of based on the same thing, but we see like card bans in some cases. We saw with the Swindle team event currently is the SAS Climb, which is a format where you start at a high SAS cap, and then as you win games, your cap goes lower. And so sometimes you might have like a 70 SAS cap, but your opponent has an 80. And so the goal is to get your cap below 70 and then win a game with a deck below 70. Is that right?
Hmm. And you're just kind of trying to every time you win, your personal cap keeps lowering and lowering, and you're trying to get the race to the bottom. Very very kind of on theme for KeyForge, racing to get to that last win with the lowest cap. Um,
Yeah. And then I should mention again, we talked about average Joes. I didn't really touch on one of the key parts that I thought was really interesting in this is that fighting Walloon and I think a lot of the players as well have a very strong belief that average Joe specifically, you are not supposed to game the system. You are they really discourage. They don't want someone to bring like a 70% win percentage deck into the average Joes. It's really supposed to be about just lower power fun decks, and it's why they call it average Joes. I think it's like it's very much more casual, and so that is sort of a I don't know if the rule is written, but they do have a very like it is definitely a twist on it because I think your first instinct, my first instinct when we look at SAS Cap is like, all right, what can I do to break this? What can I do to abuse this? And they are specifically like, no, don't do that. Just bring something fun, something casual. Um, and then the other one I wanted to kind of bring up, another variation on this, is there could be a reversal SAS floor event, which I think is, if I'm not mistaken, there might be the Premier League, one of the qualifiers this season might be a reversal SAS floor, or am I just making that up? I forget.
Could be. I mostly stick to the leagues, so I
Yeah.
may have missed it. Um, Timeshapers did a SAS floor reversal at one point. Um, that turned out to be a really interesting event. Um, my brother and I, or ST Russell and I, kind of ended in the top four of that one. With turned out that at least for the decks that showed up, um, having low creature counts was really really bad,
Hmm.
in kind of those in kind of that meta. So
Yeah.
interesting, interesting.
Um, I would say one more addition to kind of like what would I look for. I don't, like I said, I don't look for them very often, but if I would, I think since the introduction of the Metascore, I feel like that opens up the possibility for some decks going under the radar because you could have a deck with like no creature control, but has so much other value going on, and it gets like a -3 for creature, and that might bring like a 63 to a 60, still has some good value in it, and it's now viable in a 60 SAS cap. Same thing with amber control. I know a ton of people really like to play decks with virtually no amber control. They can have like a lot of other things going for them, but they get the meta score, which like really drastically drops the SAS value, which I think definitely has an impact when you're looking for SAS cap decks.
Hmm. Here's a prime example. One of the three decks that I played in the swindle event. I was in the 60 SAS seat for this particular one, and Del Toro was an absolute monster. So -4 on the meta score, only 1.4 on the amber control. But I mean,
Yeah,
double number not doppelganger chieftain, incredible efficiency. Yeah, uh,
yeah. What's
yeah.
the SAS on that one now?
This one is sitting at 60, and
Okay,
definitely,
so that would have been a great example. It would have been a 64 before the Metascore was introduced.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And let's see, was previously 59. Yeah,
There you go.
there you go.
Um, do you want to get to a game?
Yeah, let's get to a game. And quickly before we do that, I just want to plug a few places where folks can play SAS Cap events now, if they so choose. So we mentioned the Swindle event that's happening right now, the SAS Bound event where you're kind of playing games with a personal SAS Cap, trying to drive down to get below 60 and win a game. That is nearing, it seems, the final rounds. I see this as kind of a spiritual successor to the leaderboards that Karen had done before, and it's I think been doing really well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some iteration of it, though I can't say I know for sure. Again, but would encourage folks to check that out. Also, would encourage folks to check out the miners server, which is organized by Jante King and Algernoner, to two Nordic folks or from the Nordic community. And kind of the cool thing there is you bring four decks, um, at three different SAS levels. So one of those three SAS levels, you're going to have two decks, right? And in game time, you can choose between the two that you brought, which you play. So you'll see your opponent's lineup, maybe decide between two options. And this is kind of interesting because you can allow yourself to maybe bring a couple decks that have some holes and see which holes are going to be taken advantage of, and not bring that one to the actual game. If you wanted to have, you had two fun decks at a particular level that you wanted to try out, but didn't want to commit to either one as a thing that would stand alone. Um, And then there was one more I really wanted to plug, but it is
ABR we mentioned has a SAS Cap week, so their season, and they're actually going to be taking signups in the next week or so. I believe the next season is supposed to start around October, is what they said. So it's a great league, and you're one of the captains there. You have been the last few seasons. A lot of fun league, and it's usually 7 week seasons. You're on a team of 10, and one of those weeks is the SAS Cap.
yeah. Definitely encourage folks to check that out. We'll have to toss some links to the various servers in the show notes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was fun. So this will be interesting. Let's do a little mini sign off for the peeps who want to peel off now, and the folks who are going to be consuming this in their podcatchers will not have the benefit of our game. So thank you
Yeah.
all.
If you are, well, if I can interrupt you one more time, I'll let you finish. But if you are listening to the podcast and you want to see a double epic quest, you should watch the video in the game we're about to play right now. Double epic quests can be, for lack of a better term, quite epic.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So we're going to switch gears with all of our lurkers. Glad you're here with us, lurkers. Play ourselves a little SAS Cap game. And quick draw, you have locked in your selection at a SAS Cap of 60 with Agnes How do you want to pronounce this? All you.
Uh, I am more of an Italian speaker than a French speaker. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce this one correctly, so I will just call it Agnes and call it a day.
Okay, very good.
Carcas? No, never mind. I was going to try it, but never mind. I don't want to. My French is not good. I had one class. I'm going to stick with my Italian.
Right on. And I have a few options. So I brought a few options in the 60 range, and I think it would be fun to let you choose which one I play.
Oh man, I didn't look at any of these yet, so it's just going to be like a sort of, I guess like a triad, sort of, a
Yeah,
one-way triad SAS Cap.
one-way triad SAS
Um,
Cap.
what am I looking at here? So you've got Super Mill. What are my three options here?
So we'll ignore Super Mill. That won't be a very interesting
Okay.
game. So there's Del
Okay.
Toro, which is going to
Okay.
be very speedy, combo-y. And then folks on the chat, feel free to chime in too if you want. Del Toro, Gingernaut combo-y, high efficiency logo stuff, no amber control, lots of pressure. Genovefa, or Genovefa, excuse me, Polish deck, courtesy of Not Tonight, another deck that I played in the Swindle event. And W. Peters is the Mamma Mia deck. We'll have to.
I've seen Mamma Mia, so I'm going to try to see something new. Although I think Mamma Mia would probably be a good matchup for me. Um, Gang or Not is interesting too. Um, I'm going to go with the Polish one though. So that's
Okay.
uh, my Polish is non-existent. Bill would be very disappointed in us. Um, the Polish one then. So the Genovefa is what I'll have you play that one. The Mass Mutation deck.
Excellent. Let's do it.
All right. Do you want to make the table? Or want me to make it?
Of course, you picked the one without artifact control. What is this?
Do they
Gaming
all?
the system? Just
They
kidding.
already. None of them have artifact control except for Peters.
So
And I
interestingly,
didn't pick.
you didn't pick Peters, so you played it before. So this is interesting, though. Peters was a secondary market purchase, and I picked it specifically because at the time it was at 54, and this was a code event where one of the final caps was, I think, 54 or 56. I don't recall. So it was kind of a SAS climb event, and there was some Heart of the Forest decks running around, and I was looking for something that was decent, well-rounded, and had outs to Heart of the Forest. So this has the Grasping Vines, but notably Grasping Vines with Key Charge. So I thought I at least had some outs if I got to that point. So interesting. This was a Heart of the Forest meta call, which has done very well regardless, and have brought it and won some games in the competitive queue. So very fun.
Nice.
Okay, so oh my gosh, all these new games. There's quick draw. Let's see. Okay.
Very.
Genoveffa Esca. I have two Genoveffa decks. Look at that. 85% quick draw. You should be shaking in your boots. 85%.
85%.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can find this deck. Can't actually find Agnes because that accent mark makes it so hard to search for it. Here we go. I got it now.
All
All
right.
right.
Good luck.
Good
Have
luck.
fun. And what a coincidence. I don't know if you can see my desktop background or my game kind of background. That is Genoveffa. This was not set up ahead of time. Verification pick for Genoveffa.
Oh, interesting. I'm not watching the stream anymore. Otherwise, I'll see your hand. So,
Yes.
I did not realize that was Genoveffa in your TCO background.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this hand. That's a little better.
Okay. Taking a look at yours. Oof. Molly Mock. Molly Mock indeed.
I feel like Dark Tidings actually could be a pretty solid SAS Cap choice these days because a lot of people, myself included, feel it can be pretty underrated.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely outperforms its SAS. I think it's kind of just because there's a lot more like multi-card combos than previous sets. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily like card value is wrong. I think it's more of just like the things that it can do when it has like a lot of things going on for it at once.
So I think these are sort of acknowledged. I don't want to call them gaps, but I mean things that SAS is really not looking for. I mean you've got these more than 2 card combos, right? Which I think Corthan has basically said, yeah, not gonna bother with those. And then you've kind of got these game warping effects, you know, the Heart of the Forests, the Dark Amber Vaults, the Martian Generosity, and it's like, well, what does your deck play like when it has deck in hand? I mean, really hard to capture with a number, and really hard to represent, or really hard to kind of like capture the impact that's going to have from matchup to matchup. So there is a lot of opportunity there, I think, to find outliers when you're kind of looking for things that have kind of those multi-card consistencies or those kind of game warping effects. Like Dry the River is going to be brutal, right?
Yeah, it is. I actually, as you were talking, I totally realized this like great combo, and then I just biffed it.
That was
With
my goal.
the Dark Discovery, I kind of just I don't play it very often. I have one other deck that has Dark Discovery in it. Um, in this one, I was just playing Drawn Down and realized I can keep one card on top of your deck, and then I can play the Dive Deep to make sure that it's the house that I want it to be. And I just put the wrong card on the bottom. Um, I didn't realize that that is like that easy to set up. That's pretty cool in my opinion.
You know, I do think that is an underrated card in general.
Well, you
The
just discarded your entire deck with an Anger Mob anyway, so
mm-hmm.
completely destroyed the Dark Discovery.
Yep.
It's so funny how like certain things counter Dark Discovery that you wouldn't think of. Like I had one game with it where that alien, the mutant alien that can discard cards from or like put a new card on the bottom of your deck can just totally mess up Dark Discovery. Such a shame. This deck is supposed to not ever generate Amber and win anyway, but how can I do that if you mess up my Dark Discovery?
Yeah, it's 2 epic quests and then dot dot dot.
Yeah, 2 epic quests and the Dark Discovery.
But yeah, I gotta find one key naturally. Okay.
Yeah, I've only played a handful of games with this so far, but it definitely is about. I did forge one key naturally and then 2 epic quests before, so let's see here. So you are at 6 now.
You could steal. You could. You shouldn't, but you could.
could, but I don't think it's worth it. I only have one untamed in hand, so let's do this instead.
Not tonight,
Not a great
watching,
play either.
shaking your head at my plays. I'm regretting that opportunist. Regretting that opportunist.
So I put one on the bottom. Let's put the bow on the bottom. So I got a guess bow. And then, do I want to raise the tide for an abandoned ship? Yeah, that sounds kind of good actually. Can replay my Mollymock.
Oh no. I thought that I was safe.
So, oh man, you have like the
Interesting.
infinite combo to just totally ruin the Dark Discovery because you have the Grey Rider and you have the Angry Mob, and the other Angry Mob is purged. You learn something new every day. Don't ever purge an Angry Mob if you don't want to recycle their deck.
Angry mob for the win. And I was kicking myself for making my own Grey Rider elusive, and then what am I going to do with Vmos Lightbringer? But it worked out. Worked out all right.
I solved that problem for you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Though I maybe would have preferred archiving bow, but we'll see. Okay. Cool. Make sure I don't inadvertently play one. Yeah. Just when your Grey Rider needs a friend, none to be had.
Not going great over here. Probably shouldn't have taken those chains now.
Interesting. What are you doing for board control over there? You got the 2 abandoned ships. That's kind of annoying.
Good card.
It is.
Persistence hunting.
Got the persistence hunting. Dry the river is going to be really annoying when it comes. First or last has been played. Ooh, tempted to just go really wide here. Though you're going to get extra value out of those abandoned ships to really gum up my hand. But that's okay. I'm going to do 1 damage here since you're not fighting. I'm going to get really great cleansing waves at some point.
Someday.
Probably should have played Squire on the other side, but okay. There it is. I did it. I did things. Did the things.
All right. That's not super wide. There is your worst nightmare.
Oh boy.
Try the river.
Ooh.
I always forget to play Aja on the non-flank.
So I've started calling Aja aha, because I think it's kind of funny to like be inconspicuous and then someone finds you and they're like aha. I don't know.
Maybe he's Spanish, so he pronounces the J like the H.
Maybe. Who can say? Oh, and just kind of casually playing Urian with shoulder armor.
That's not Urian. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dang. Holy moly. All right, what are we going to do here about that?
I feel like you should just go shadows and just play a couple creatures.
Tempted.
I think that'd be a good play.
1 in the archives? Yeah, getting that knight into the bin is not a bad idea. I need to come in with 5 power. 5 power, 3 armor. Ooh, gross.
Yeah, you should probably just let him go. Seems
I
like a
think
pain, right?
I think I'm gonna get some angry mobs. That sounds really good. Let's go Sanctum. This feels bad. I need to do 8 damage? Ugh. Yeah, and really kicking myself for putting Squire Alice on that side next to the Grey Rider. Womp womp.
Do I have a better creature to put next to the Grey Rider then?
Yeah, I was thinking I'd probably. Oh, do I care about flipping my deck? End up getting another. Oh no, I don't have any more. That's right. I'll just flip my deck. Hmm.
Like, bow is on the bottom right now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna burn this one. Burn this one. Aja is a monk. Not super worried, but I will go to check for 3 chains. No, I just get to fight. Reap. Reap. Do I want to kill Aja? Nah. Nah. You can keep it. You can keep it. It'll be great.
Perfect. I love this.
Right into your trap.
Right into the trap, exactly. First thing I'm going to do is steal 1 from you.
Mm-hmm. Very fair.
Next thing I'm going to do is raise the tide so I can actually reap. Double Way of the Pixie.
What?
This is how I make 1 key.
Okay.
Ready and reap with that bad boy again.
Holy moly.
And I don't think you're going to go Sanctum again. What did you draw last turn? You didn't draw anything. So we're just going to exhaust Squire.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Well, that's a thing. That's a thing. The joke's on you. I'm going to flip 5 cards with Ransack right here.
You have nothing in your deck. Do you have a draw pip?
Ooh. Oh, you're right. I didn't get to reshuffle. Ugh. Gross. Okay, let's have enough of that. Put some non-Star Alliance creatures over there for when I play Crewman Yorg.
All right.
Oof.
So maybe I steal 1 again?
Do not love giving you a key. Only 1 archive right now, though. That's okay.
Yeah, just 1.
2 Sanctum and discard. Dry the river already out. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those epic quests are going to be a long shot at this point. I think I've got to just play some cards here.
Let's see an abandoned ship, perhaps.
I don't quite have that.
Wrath of Ruin. Very nice. Also
Turn.
pretty good. Also pretty good.
Yeah. Probably going to go into Star this turn. I think you've got to have at least 4 by now. So let's give you back. Yeah. I think I'll just throw back a few shadows at you. Hopefully clog you up for a turn, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll take the key.
Yeah. Didn't have enough Untamed to go back there.
No, fair enough. Puts Aja in the middle. Very nice.
I finally did it right.
Interesting. Compounding my mistakes with Alice on the flank next to the Grey Rider. Doesn't feel good. Now your tide taking options are pretty few as well. You have kind of one other outside of the Seabringer Cocoa. Okay. Let's see what we have on top of the deck. Ooh, interesting. It's pretty good. Let's leave it. Play the crewman over here. Some stuff there. I mean, taking the tide is definitely not worth one reap. I'm going to take it at some point. And really just a question of if you have the Marshall Ewer.
Would really feel bad if you took the 3 chains just to make me play my Marshall Ewer.
Would feel bad, especially if you followed it up with another epic quest to grab it back again. That would be the worst. That would be the worst. But if you do go into Sanctum, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I'll draw 1 card and I know what it is. I'm okay with that turn. And I kind of want to just rush as much as I can.
Well, I'm bummed that you did that now. I was trying to stay like as quiet as long as I could. Maybe he won't raise. And now I'm just going to take the chains. Let's see if there's something. I think there's definitely someone here I want to fight. But maybe I just try to win this race because I am behind in the race. So I know you have. Well, you just drew a card that you wanted. Could have been a bow. And I know I returned those 2 other shadows. So there's a pretty good chance you got a decent hand of shadows right now.
I've been known to bluff.
Definitely not going to fight the elusive. I'm going to remind myself to not fight the elusive. I think I'm just going to read. And I have the abandoned ship.
Very nice.
So let's send back some of your star. And I think I'm fine if you keep Dino Thief. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good. And I got a Hookmaster as well.
Nice. Really nice.
Let's do it. See if that's good for now.
Interesting.
So you're at the point now where you can't really take chains to reap again. I feel like that'd be pretty rough.
It would be pretty rough. You definitely have the Marshall Ewer coming. You're going to get 2 plays out of it, thanks to Epic Quest number 2. I mean, I have a couple decent turns lined up with just what I have in hand, and I'm not going to see new cards at the end of this turn no matter what. The Hookmaster is really sad. Really sad. Okay, let's go Star Alliance.
Just gonna throw some guys back out there then?
Just gonna throw some guys back out. Yeah. Okay.
Thank goodness there's no Garcia there. Pretty happy about that. All right, so now I think I just go straight back to Unfathomable.
Seems
Try to win
pretty
this
good.
race.
Seems pretty good.
Who to fight with? Keep alive that amber control. Always play the flame gill on the right flank for Whirlpool. Rule number 1.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that last couple turns, I did not think that I'd be able to win the race. Um, I think earlier, if you'd have reaped out with the Sanctum, I'd have been very sad.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
I think the Orion was a pretty big threat, though. So I don't blame you for spending that one turn to not draw anything, just fight him out.
I was worried about it. Maybe more than I should have been, but yeah. Oof.
I would have followed it up. I think I had a ready to reap. What's it called? The
Reaper so or
no, that untamed action. I had that one in my hand at the time. Uh, yeah, Reaper so. Yeah, thank you. Um, it's Who does this deck have? 3 of those? Yeah, 3 of Reaper so when you have 2 Orion and a shoulder armor and 2 Way of the Pixie. Um, is actually a lot of burst for a
mm-hmm.
deck that kind of doesn't like it has a path to win without generating any Ember at all with like the Epic Quest and the Dark Discoveries.
Yep.
It's kind of nice to have that option at least.
Definitely. Okay, interesting turn here. We are gonna go Sanctum. Going to take the Tide. Yes. Angry Flame Gill. Very nice. Exchange Officer reaps. And Yorg can action to steal.
Good.
Gonna leave that there. Mm-hmm. Now, this is an interesting part. Don't know if this is the right play. Really wish there was one more armor there, or one more power on my exchange officer. It'd be really tasty to get one more use out of that. Do I play the Vemos? Vemos is gonna chomp Dino Thief. I might as well purify it first. And get Lyco Thief. And lots of information, potentially. Giving you one more amber. Possibly
Gotta
not
have
worth it.
shadows right now. Where's your bow? Your bow was on bottom, and then you discarded him. He's got to be there somewhere.
Gotta be.
The worst time for me. I'm just waiting for him.
I know. I think I have to not risk shuffling it away, unfortunately. That feels really bad. Maybe should have killed the Krakoa before raising the Tide. Also a solid option.
I'm still gonna have a hard time killing that Krakoa.
Yep. Okay, so send this guy just to chomp down on some Reapers. Putting Aja over there. Is this worth the Amber? I don't think so. And do I want another Sanctum body at the expense of giving you an Amber? Having the elusive is also kind of sad, but you have other fights. I'm just going to discard Vimos.
I think that's
And
the right call.
yeah. And the Purify too, unfortunately.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's a pip you're getting rid of there.
Yeah, it is a pip.
So is your fear there that you would put the bow into play without getting his play effect? Is that why you?
So I wouldn't get the bow into play. I could discard it. At this
What?
point, the only mutant I can upgrade Dino Thief into is Mutant Cut Purse or Lyco Thief. Those are my
Well,
last.
Purify looks for non-mutants, doesn't look for the mutants. So it would have put bow into play, but you wouldn't have got the play effect. So I
Nice.
probably would have played. I don't know. Is that the only mutant really on the board?
That's the only
Oh,
mutant on
you
the
could have done
board.
it in Bulwark.
Or
You
Bulwark.
could have done it in
Yep.
the Bulwark, but
Yep.
yeah. All right, so I got some options
Womp
now.
womp.
I mean, I think you made the right call to not kill your Dino Thief because I think you would give me a chance to check you had you done
Mhm.
that. Um, so I think you made the right call there.
Fingers crossed.
So what can I get back here?
Oof. Not tonight, cringing when she wakes up and watches the Purify misreads.
Well,
Purify
I'm
is
kind of
such a
just glad
flavorful
that
card, yeah.
that Dark Discovery misplay earlier didn't cost me, but I learned something from it, which is cool. Let's go Untamed. Just went Sanctums. You could just go right back to Star. I think you have at least 2 shadows, so I don't think you're gonna go Star. And if you do it just to steal one, I guess have at it. Um, so I'm gonna take a risk here. I think. Nah, I can't afford it. I'm just gonna not let you call Sanctum again. I think that's too much amber you can make. Uh, Growth Surge here.
Nice.
Play the Witch. And question is, do I get back a Mollymawk, which would kill my own artifact? I don't think so. Or do I go for Sanctum? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I don't think it's worth it still. Like, just not enough Sanctum cards left to pull those off, I don't think. So I think
Fingers
instead I'm going
crossed.
to go, yeah. I'm going to go for the, this game's going to end on a random Dark Discovery walk-off, isn't it?
We can only hope. It would be a great ending.
That would be just too good. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Colia. Hookmaster fights incoming. Oof. Well, I definitely don't have a better play than Shadows here. Maybe I'll get a huge ransack. Nope.
Or just discard the one card that could really help you out, maybe.
Also a possibility. Yeah, maybe Francis would enjoy some assault. And this can go over there. Okay, cool. Let's see.
Dang, you got the 5 now. All right. Let's see here. I can get... I feel like I have to take some of your amber away. That's tough. also feel like I have to check you while killing the crewman York. So
Eh,
I'll take them chains. Get rid of the crewman and just gonna reap. All right.
pretty good.
Did you find the bow?
Did not find the bow.
Probably got a Squire Alice or something. You got a few answers.
They're in there in the deck. Garcia. Garcia bow. Look over there. Opportunist. Where are my outs? Did not find them. Womp womp womp. Okay,
You
cool.
have an out. Yeah, you have an out.
Nope, nope. So we're just gonna go. Let's see. As long as I'm not missing one on board, that would be silly.
I don't think you are. That's why I
Mm-mm.
got rid of the York.
Yeah, getting rid of the York was excellent. Yeah, yeah. I think that's gonna be it.
You do have answers in Star too, and I guess they're in the bottom 13.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That mob was super interesting this game because you never saw Garcia, you never saw the Quintrino Flux. Um, two really good cards.
Interesting. What would I flux here? Getting the sixes seems really good to
Don't forget my power counters.
hit the hookmaster. Yeah,
The 1/6, yeah.
and I mean, I guess the threes for value hits my own exchange officer, Francis, and mutant cut purse. But okay, so we'll do that just for
Right.
cannot fight. I guess this
Andy subdued.
just for spite. Yeah, well done. Nicely done.
Game.
Good
I did
game.
not think that I would win a game with this deck when I forged 3 keys the old-fashioned way. But there it is. Good game.
Nicely done.
Yeah, looking dicey early there, but I think like the Reaper Sows can like really. I went from like 2 to 10 that turn or something. I forget what
Yeah,
it was. It was a lot.
at least nine. That was an excellent turn. And I thought about killing the Mollymock, left it on board, but I should have maybe been a little bit more wary of those Reaper
I
sows.
Yeah, I drew into my Gatekeeper now, and I've always found I love Gatekeeper. It's a great card, but so many times people I'm playing against they go to 6, and I have no answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I'm like they are thinking like way ahead of me. They're like, nope, I'm gonna stop at 6 because the Gatekeeper, and he can't take me off. That's always like a feels bad if I lose that way. When I'm like, I've got the Gatekeeper, and you stopped at 6, and I can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, although it pairs really well with Ritual of Balance for sure.
Good point. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. There was a turn earlier in the game when I was like, I could take you down to 3 when you were at 5, and I decided to keep you at 5. I think with the Hookmaster, maybe I did fight with Hookmaster. I forget, but I was like weighing maybe I should just let you stay at 5 because you're more likely to get to 7. Whereas if I got you to 3, you might just get to 6 naturally, and then I wouldn't be able to gatekeeper it then. But
Mm. Interesting.
yeah.
I would have loved.
So
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, as a SAS Cap game, how does this stack up to a lot of the other SAS Cap games you play?
Yeah. Uh, pretty cool. I definitely do feel that a lot of the SAS Cap games that I play tend to be a little bit more. Well, I mean, when you have kind of these two moderately balanced decks, in terms of what they're trying to do. I mean, yours is a little bit combo-y, even though we didn't see it go do combo-y things. I mean, was a really close match. Lots of like interesting tension points. I think there's a lot of potential for that in these lower powered games that you don't always see in higher powered games. At least you see it play out a little bit differently. It's kind of like high stakes with lower powered ammunition. I don't know what the right metaphor is.
Yeah. I think
Mm,
I was expecting you to like run away with that early, but I guess when you have a lower value deck like that, it's harder to like just take an advantage you have and just pull away with it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that I did this deck justice. Has been a little while since I've played it, but uh, definitely potential to run away with games, especially with the double cleansing waves. Um,
You
can
never saw
do.
that either, did you?
I played one early on,
Oh,
and did one of the reasons why I was happy to flip my deck with with the angry mobs was to get those back. That and the Bona thing came kind of early, so I was happy to shuffle those back around, hoping to get another chance at the safe house as well for some end game potential. Um, but yeah,
yeah. Safe
love the
Bow
cleansing
is
wave.
one of my favorite combos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sad to see the
Great
Molly
combo.
Mock and a
Yeah,
cleansing wave with a damage pip. Really cool in this deck. Really cool this deck. Lots of
it is
ways to
super
spread
cool. That's
damage.
like one of the dream enhancements. Damage pip on the cleansing wave, pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought it was fun. I mean, I when I look at like a casual, if I'm looking for something casual, like play some other decks, I strongly prefer Newton, which we played last week. I feel like Newton, it is like probably a little bit higher range. Like you and I talked about the range of Newton decks. Like I usually target around 70, usually target a little bit lower than that. I feel like it's still a pretty good way to play something casually though. Um, and there's a lot of other formats like Exchange is one that is like super complex, like a very deep. And I think the consensus after talking to a lot of really good players and sanctimonious about it is to bring two. You want to bring the two weakest decks basically
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot of game theory involved with it. But if you look up Exchange, it's each player brings two decks. You exchange the list before the game, and you choose one of your opponent's decks to steal, and you just play a best of three match. You got to win with each of your decks. Um, so it has so many things that you have to think about in it. But I think like the key takeaway for me is that you can bring we could bring these decks right here, and if we know how to play these well, like below 60, then they're really good exchange decks. So when I think about like we talked a bit about why do people play SAS Cap and like what is the purpose of it, and I personally just find that there are other created formats out there that fill like the need and fill the like the goal of SAS Cap without having that like desire to arbitrarily game the system.
Mm.
So for me personally, I prefer those kind of formats over SAS Cap. But speaking to a lot of people this week and hearing you and your take on it and what you enjoy out of it, what you get out of it, I can definitely see both parts of it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to like SAS Cap, but I can understand and appreciate others' perspective on it. I think more after doing all this research this week.
Cool. I'm gonna take that and call it a win for SASCAP.
I think you should. I think you win. Yeah.
Right on, right on. Cool. Well, let's wrap it up there. This was a lot of fun. Whatever your feels on the format, fun game, good chat. Yeah, if you are curious, check out some of the foot places to play SASCAP games that we'll toss in the notes. Um, Otherwise, yeah, see you around the lab.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good chat. See you
Good
around the
chat.
lab.
Bye, folks.